When I think about a day trader, I often picture the character of Bud Fox, who was played by Charlie Sheen in the 1987 movie Wall Street. If you haven't seen the movie, that's okay, because the imagery portrayed throughout the film is likely what you think of when you imagine a day trader. Fresh suits, expensive shoes, big mansions in the Hamptons, fancy apartments in Midtown, you get the idea. But this opulent 80s, 90s, even early 2000s imagery of a day trader has evolved greatly. And in the world of crypto, day trading continues to be a worthwhile pursuit, sought after by many, and the stocks from the traditional finance system are now cryptocurrencies like Bitcoin, Ethereum, and a whole host of others. My guest today is Josh Somma, and Josh works as product manager for VEMA Trader, a new day trading support platform that's transforming the way day traders approach the market and engage with their trades to ideally increase their profits while reducing the amount of daily time and energy they spend on the platform. On this episode, Josh and I dive into how he got into crypto, his thoughts on NFTs and DAOs, where he thinks the space needs to improve, and how VEMA Trader is positioning itself to be a premier day trader must-have for crypto. Day trading is nothing new, but day trading in cryptocurrencies or crypto, an asset class that never sleeps or takes weekends off, really needs a product to support the new crypto-focused generation of day traders, and VEMA Trader looks like it's primed for global adoption. I'm Jarrett Carpenter, and this is More Than Blockchain. Josh, welcome to More Than Blockchain. How are you doing?
Great, thanks. How are you, mate?
I'm doing well. Thanks for connecting from across the world. Where are you connecting from?
I'm connecting from Sydney, Australia. It's funny actually looking at you drinking a beer while I'm having my coffee here right now.
Oh, well, to clarify, it is not a beer. I must be on my A game. It is a seltzer.
Oh,
It's
okay,
just a
there you
seltzer.
go. Look at that. Oh, cranberry lime.
Yeah, but it's really good to clarify because I was on, and sometimes I'll put it in a koozie so my hands don't get wet and then I'm playing with my laptop.
Yeah.
But I was on a Zoom call with some people that aren't in my company, and I was talking and the guy was responding, and it was like the back and forth, and I took a sip and I saw the faces, and it was like, and this was at the beginning of the pandemic, and I forget exactly what it was, but I think it was like a meeting. It wasn't like a professional thing.
Yeah.
Maybe I forget, but it wasn't a professional thing, but it was more of a serious event. I think it was,
Right.
I don't exactly remember, but I remember everyone being like, oh my gosh, you're really drinking a beer? Because it was like 10 a.m. or something. And I had to stay, guys, this is just a seltzer. Don't worry, because, I think during work from home days where we all live now, the ease of substance abuse is probably just a lot more accessible.
Yeah,
But
definitely.
anyways, let's not go down that, and let's talk about, you're in Sydney. Let's first of all talk about how we got connected, because obviously we're going to talk about crypto. We're going to talk about the company you're working for, VEMA Trader. We're going to probably talk about a bunch of other stuff, but how did we get connected? Do you want to break that down?
Yeah, sure. So in Australia, I worked for a series of technology software companies, and during that journey, I worked for a legal tech company and met a person called Ashim, who was my manager at the time, and that's how me and Jarrett got connected and me and Ashim kicked it off and got heavily involved in the crypto space and Web 3.0, and I was hammering Ashim's ears with all that space, and then he's like, you should get connected to somebody I know in New York. So here we are.
Here we are. And I wanted you to speak on that a little bit because I think it's really cool for people to understand how I get my guests, because most of my guests come from me sitting on Twitter or sitting on LinkedIn and just finding someone and be like, hey, do you want to come on my podcast? And I get asked this all the time, and I can't tell you the exact percentage of people that say yes or no because I just don't really think about the no's. I'm just excited that people say yes.
Yeah.
And I just thought it was cool that a connection that I had from the new school through New York all the way to Australia. And I forget why Ashim and I were talking. Maybe he saw that I was doing some crypto work and he was like, oh, I have this guy you have to talk to. And I love hearing that because I'm like, oh, great. I'd love to talk to this guy. So here you are.
Here we
Thanks
are.
for coming on. And yeah, here we are. And if you could, do you want to give a background? And this is also my first time hearing this, so I like to hear your kind of origin story. If you're a Marvel super crypto character, how did you get into crypto and when was that? And bring me up to where you are today in crypto.
So I guess I'm not, Captain America. I'm not the OG, the one that starts it all off. I wasn't back in early days, but I started in around, the 2017 boom where that all kicked off and the market went crazy. And I remember vividly sitting around the office and watching these markets hit the limit. And I was like, what is this thing? I started looking into it and remember refreshing my page every few minutes. And that was the point where I was hitting the ceiling. And I started investing into like obviously the original Bitcoin, and then I started looking into some white papers. I started going, okay, what are these things? What do they do? So blockchain was the first time I was introduced to blockchain in that period. And I remember being a white paper fiend. I was reading into all these different sort of coins, I remember BAT and etc. And that's when I started to go, okay, this is great. I can see people how they're making a lot of money in this space, but essentially, how can we use this to progress as a society in terms of technology? And my heart is a technologist. I was a programmer actually at the time. Now I'm a product manager, but I saw this space being, okay, well, if it was used to make money so simply like that, how can we use it how can we do it for like supply chain, e-commerce, and etc. And then ICOs came around and that hit the roof. But now it's, what a world we live in today. Then I started from there. The market collapsed, but I still was reading into it. Then, that was the kickoff of Web 3.0 prior to that, but started reading into Web 3.0, a lot more Web 3.0 projects came in. Then reading about what does that mean for us in today's world. And I think, the big data privacy things coming into space now, Google, Facebook, etc. I started reading into more of those Web 3.0 projects because I really believe that the power is in us and we own our own data really, and how much that can propel us forward. Web 3.0. I don't know if you're the same in that thought around that. So Web 3.0, and then I started looking into NFTs. Well, about 2 years ago, COVID came around and I was heavily invested into the NFT space, started purchasing my own NFTs. And then I saw, I don't know about you, but the Bored Apes and etc. They're awesome and they're great, like aesthetically pleasing. But I thought there's so much more to this. I don't know about you, like utility tokens. Like I love how NBA Top Shots, what they've done is insane with capturing moments in a digital form. And I think that's where the B2B space is going to be and B2C. So it was just a whole journey. NFTs, then went on to recently bought into some DAOs, had some luck in some good old rug pulls in that journey too. But yeah, it's been a journey and it's such an interesting space, so much to talk about.
You have just made this podcast extremely easy because you've just set me up for like 9 different questions and they're all going in my head. But I want to go back to the white papers because I think, and I had a woman on who actually I work with, her name's Stephanie Jones, and she also she talks about herself in the same light that she is a white paper fiend. And I want to ask you, I want to start all the way back there.
Yeah, let's go.
Was there a white paper that you read that convinced you to buy into a project? And then conversely, was there a white paper that you read and by the end you were like, I don't want to touch this thing? And then maybe speak about why.
Yeah, so I think the XRP one or Ripple was really, really interesting. And then they got into legal troubles because they named something. But I think another one which caught my eye, and it really hasn't sort of taken off much, but is BAT, the basic attention token. And really what I found interesting about that was they're taking a browser. I don't know if you've heard of it. Have you heard of it before?
Yeah, this is the basic attention token, right? Is that what BOT stands for? So I've looked into this, and as far as it's in my list, I have a list of like 30 altcoins essentially that I just look for price, and I have things set up that say like, yeah, maybe you should buy in, when they drop a certain amount. But if you could actually speak about this would be great because I think that this is something, should it hit, will probably influence everyone. Like everyone will know about this in 10 years if it were to work. Is that accurate? Because if it's an in-browser thing?
Yeah, so essentially it's works exactly like Chrome or Firefox or Safari, etc., etc. You basically download the browser and then you hook it up to your wallet. So the thing with Chrome and these browsers or Google and etc. is that the advertisers, they publish advertising on the browser, and then essentially that goes back to they pay for that space, and you don't get rewarded as the consumer. You get shown ads that you don't want to see, and you're like, this is a horrible experience. And usually it's the case, I don't know about you, you buy something online and then they show you the ad, which is amazing. And then, so what Brave has done is said, well, we'll put an ad blocker, we'll block all the ads for you, we'll give you a reward, and you could get even more rewarded or rewarded further if you opt in for ads. So that just shows that the consumer's really happy to be shown ads and therefore it can be paying at premium. So advertisers are coming onto the network and going, okay, well, this user's actually signed in to see this ad, or sorry, opt in, I should say. And that's the way you can get rewarded for your browsing. So within like a month, I can earn about, I don't know, 5 to 10 BAT roughly, depending on how much I'm using my browser. And it goes across devices. So it's extremely powerful. I know that's massive in the Web 3.0 space. People that are heavily into crypto use it, and it's privacy centric. So it's a great browser, a great place to be in. Whether in 10 years' time this is going to overtake some of the existing browsers, I don't know. Let's have a time will tell.
I think that that builds on another point that you said, which is about privacy and I think owning your own data. And I think that that's just a very interesting thing because my entire life, when I think back, Facebook came out when I was 18. So my adult life has been really defined by social media, if you think of it that way. And since Facebook, it was like, oh, cool, we get to play on this little jungle, but it's free, right? It's free. And I'm throwing air quotes. I know this is an audio podcast. It's free. And I think things like bot, the basic attention token, what they're trying to do, that flips the paradigm on its head. And it says, no, you need to pay us because at the end of the day, we are the product. Like on Facebook, we are the product. What other are there other things that other projects that are kind of doing privacy? And for you, is privacy the thing that is maybe the reason why you're so excited about this space above other considerations?
I think privacy is definitely one of them. I think we live in a world where like centralization is so big, right? The banks, big tech companies know, especially the tech companies know so much about you. And now with the introduction, they know all your browsing history. Now add Apple Pay or Google Pay to that, and they know all your payment. So they don't even need to be a bank without the bank license. And now they own all this information about you. So it's quite interesting. Going back to your question, I think, yes, it is one of my big drivers to this space. And there's a lot of projects out there that are trying to tackle it. And I guess that is Web 3.0 in a nutshell. But I think also what excites me about this space in crypto is like how else you can use it. There's a bigger Australian company using crypto called Power Ledger. And what they do is they're an energy company that does peer-to-peer electricity sharing. So there's another example of something so powerful, especially in the renewable space, which I find really exciting and, going towards a greener future. So there's so much that excites me. I'm sure the same thing applies to you, but privacy is definitely one.
Yeah, for sure. Privacy. The reason why I asked you is because privacy is something that I think is always there, but it's not something that I think I talk about as much in my circles, my Web3 and crypto circles. I think just because it's less sexy.
Yeah,
There's these other projects that are maybe doing other things, like you're saying, like Power Ledger, that are trying to use blockchain more like Helium, that are trying to create decentralized networks so people can have Wi-Fi access and stuff. These things are maybe just sexier, but under that is there is this very serious layer of privacy, which is I think is a larger conversation that has actually been happening over the last decade with Snowden and some other breaches of what happened with Cambridge Analytica
oh,
and
huge.
Facebook in the 2015 2016 election with Donald Trump. That to me is like earth shaking. When I learned about it and I finally like dove in and kind of understood more, I was like, this is insane
Mm.
that these companies, Facebook or Google, as you're saying, they know our behaviors better than we do, just based off the things that we do. And, you and I are connecting on WhatsApp, which is now part of the Zuckerberg empire.
Yep.
So, it's like maybe, well, I don't want to speculate too much there, but I want to actually go now to the DAO because I haven't actually done an episode strictly focusing on DAOs and I really want to. I want to do a quick pod where I kind of break down what they are and, my thoughts on them. But what are some DAOs that you got into and why didn't they work? If you want to share, maybe you're really deep in a DAO and you can't share because for whatever reason, but if you'd like to share, I'd love to hear why you got into the DAOs and how you think they're going to play a role in the future.
Yeah, no problem. So I guess for people that haven't or not sure what a DAO is, essentially, before I get into that, is just a group of people who It's just a decentralized autonomous organization. So basically, a group of people who abide by a certain policy or rule for a common purpose, and it's all written in code via like smart contracts. So essentially, algorithms run the business, you could say, which is pretty cool, and it's a great way to give power to the whole business rather than just the people at top. So I found that whole idea fascinating. I'm quite entrepreneurial myself. I love thinking of a lot of my pastime sometimes is just thinking of business ideas with mates, as you do. But in terms of the projects I got into, it was really around, I found out about it. The what amazed me was the APY, and I was so or annual percentage yield. People don't know what that means. It's basically they will give you by staking into the DAO, you receive a specific yield of that, and that continuous growth. So if you've heard of the eighth wonder of the world, compound interest, it's very powerful when you consider that an APY. So that really caught my eye, but then I started reading into the technical stuff. But I got into first one was, and one of the ones that hit the scene with the like hit the scene quite well was Olympus. So I was reading into the Olympus DAO, and I thought, you know what, let's get into this. Put not too much in, and let's see where it goes. And then I think it was them or someone else that opened it up, their project open source, and that created a can of worms. So then every man and his dog created a DAO. So there was and then I think it was about probably the past 2 years that DAOs have become massive, and they've grown. And I invested in a few others. I won't mention their name, and they've done a cheeky rug pull on me. But I think a lot of learning came out of that to essentially go back, like all investments in this space, is go back who the founders are, go back to, the white paper, like we talked about, and go, what are they actually doing? Are the people that are in their team legitimate and had legitimate progress, projects in the past? So it's been a journey, definitely. Have you invested any yourself or looked into it much?
Yeah, kind of. I mean, I think Wonderland is a DAO, right? I'm not
It is, yeah.
Wonderland was a DAO, and the rug was pulled. And I will say that as public as possible because I think it's really good for people to learn.
Yeah.
And it's actually really funny number. Oh God, I should be more fluent with the episodes on this podcast. I believe so. Grant came on, and I'm looking up his episode in real time. So please pardon the slowness here. Grant came on for episode 12, and we talked about DeFi, crypto, and financial freedom. But we briefly talked about Wonderland because that's how he came on. I was on YouTube looking up information for Wonderland, and he, because he does DeFi, was talking about Wonderland and just what it looked like and the APY and what you had to do. And, you've done it, but to buy Wonderland or to buy at that time, you had to do Avalanche, you had to go through a DEX, a decentralized
Yeah.
exchange, you had to get it, you had to stake it, you had to do like 20 steps. And if you don't have crypto and you didn't have a MetaMask, you probably had to do 40 or 50 steps. So there were barriers to entry. So the people that got in, I feel like we're not noobs. When I mean noobs is like somebody who
Definitely.
just started buying NFTs like last week. And I was part of that DAO and it was interesting. I didn't really take advantage of it. And I guess I'm still part because my money's still there, even if it's like worth $2 at this point. But my thing is like for DAOs, I've always struggled because I don't find them to be decentralized, especially after what happened with Wonderland. I don't find them to be autonomous because somebody still has to like make a decision even with the code. At least this is my opinion. And then an organization, it seems more like a dictatorship. At least once again, this is just with Wonderland. And I can't tell, and I know I have friends now that are in Cult DAO. Cryptobushi, who came on for episode 13, he's big into Cult DAO, and he was a early part of that. How do DAOs play a role in the future of Web3 and really add value? Because and I preface that with like, I can make arguments for DeFi, I can make arguments for crypto, for NFTs, for a whole host of other things, but I've kind of struggled, and maybe this is just because I got burnt by Wonderland. But where do you see it playing a role?
The idea of a DAO can be really powerful when it comes to more societal impact businesses, I guess. So your charities and non-for-profits, I see that can be very powerful, and giving the power to everyone in the party. There's always some charities out there that claim that they give out so much money, but perhaps they might not. So opening up that, you know, making it decentralized, highly visible, and etc. I can see that very powerful. there will always be, the original company structure, and that will always be around. But I think, especially in the non-for-profit, the social impact, etc., I think DAOs are going to be extremely powerful. The only thing, and you touched on it right there before, was the barriers to entry. And I think this whole space, not alone DAOs, this whole space needs some has usability problems. It needs some UX, user experience enhancements. I think we're sort of in the Web 2.0 period where, do you remember where like there was noise coming from your screen, yellow all over the place? You open a browser and the title was probably three-quarters down the page. Like, yeah, the spinning, it was all happening. And I think this space needs to slow down a bit, keep it simple, and I think put words. There's too much jargon everywhere, and I think that's causing a lot of people a barrier to entry as well. And once designers come into this space, I think it will grow and it will become more. There'll be a lot more tangible use cases, real use cases in this space. And I think that comes back to the DAO. And I think DAO is probably one of the most tricky ones. But even NFTs, right? I see NFTs sort of as you have a board ape in your the yacht club or etc. in your a wallet. It's sort of like owning a Ferrari. You know what I mean? It's the metaverse sort of drip, or swag, or whatever you want to call it. I see like NFTs being that, but how do you make it so accessible when a wallet's so difficult to get, or it's on your phone, or it's a Chrome extension, and the wallet should be as simple as the physical wallet, or the Apple wallet. It should be so simple or integrated into our everyday lives like that, not so difficult like 30 steps to get it into a DAO. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more. And I think that's why Coinbase just came out. Have you seen Coinbase's beta version for their NFTs? Have you been on that platform yet?
No, I haven't actually. Good. Coinbase isn't too big in Australia.
Coinbase just released this beta version, and if I was feeling more adventurous, I'll screen share. But I'll be sure to share it with you after. But essentially, it just looks like Instagram. If you open up Instagram on your desktop, it looks very similar. It's just with NFTs, and that kind of speaks to your UX issue. But it doesn't really speak maybe to the access. Like it's easier to use, but it doesn't really speak to the access. And I think that during this bear market, there are going to be a lot of people trying to address these exact problems that you're outlining because there are huge barriers to, honestly, to growing and to adoption in the space. And I'm hoping, at least maybe this is more of my hope, that people in this bear market are building when all of these things are down as well to try to solve some of these things. Because if it's not as easy, like you're saying, as the Apple Wallet, which I only got in the last couple of years, and now I'm in love with. I don't know how I ever lived without before because I just take my phone and I could pay anything, at least stateside.
I don't carry a wallet
It's
anymore.
yeah, you don't have to, right? And so I'm like, I couldn't agree more with you. And I think it's been difficult because a barrier to entry that's financial is one thing, but people and humans, like, we just don't like to look like we don't know what we're doing.
Mm.
We don't also like to ask for help, especially when it comes to tech and anyone under the age of 40, because we've grown up in the age of information, the technology age, or whatever. Yet, setting up a MetaMask, creating a Binance account, transferring over Ethereum, then getting onto OpenSea and buying an NFT that's actually going through Polygon that now you need Polygon or Matic for or Matic, that's super difficult. And what I've just said is about 10 seconds, but that could take a couple weeks of
Exactly.
KYC, a couple weeks of YouTubing, etc. So are there things out there that you're seeing right now that are going to like facilitate and be better as far as the UX and everything else? And how do you navigate that with your friends who are like, Josh, why are you still doing this NFT crypto thing? And maybe they're on the outside only just not because they're not interested, but because there is this huge barrier to entry.
There's a few things out there that are trying to tackle this space, and it's everyone's doing it in a different way. I've researched a few, and they all try to tackle it in their own different network or bridge, or using bridge or layers of the blockchain. So it all varies. But I think at the end of the day, I found that they're all once again going back to that too much jargon, and that's what all my mates are saying. And they're too much. If you look up a cryptocurrency or a blockchain technology, go to their landing page or a DeFi, and you're reading it, and you're like, as a non technologist or non-blockchain enthusiast, you're like, what is this? It's sort of like you also need a marketing content team to come in from your local tech company in the States and just work with them to say, bring it back to English. You know what I mean? And I think that's what they're sort of lacking. And I think once sort of that space comes in and those people come in, no matter what solution they bring out, at the end of the day, it needs to be accessible and ease of use on your phone. And I think who holds that power in today's world, and I think that's really the bank, because the bank is probably the people in this today's world who, okay, maybe not our age, but a bit older than us and so forth, to the older generations, the boomers and etc., put a lot of trust in the bank. The physical presence of a bank, the ability to put their money and be safe in that space. We're a bit skeptical of it, of course. That's why we're into this blockchain space. But I guess once those companies start getting in, you can see that already coming in. I know that the States, JP Morgan starting to do their own coin, except for cryptocurrencies. And I think, well, I wouldn't be surprised. I haven't researched, but I'm probably sure Bank of America and all those have started to get into that space. And now Australia's common banks are starting to do that. Our big four banks are doing it. I think this is the step in the right direction. Once you start offering products in that space, the financial products, and make that your wallet, it's a lot easier to enter the other markets. But I guess the other markets like NFTs and DAOs or however it may be, they just need to integrate to these platforms and get it so easy to expand. And that's their problem, I think.
You mentioned something that I wanted to highlight, which is the jargon. And this is like my biggest thing when I have conversations with my father, or he even just listens to my podcast, because he's 76, a perfect boomer, born in 1945, the end of the war. Let's celebrate. My father's born. And he's like, "What are you talking about? This is not
Exactly.
English. I can't even understand you." And so I want to first of all thank you, because every guest who's come on, they normally throw out something as you've done. You said APY and then you defined it. You said DAO, and I'm glad you also defined it as a decentralized autonomous organization, because I really hope that this podcast, if for nothing else, it serves as an educational tool for somebody who stumbles across it and
Yeah.
doesn't want to like look like they don't know, and they're in Spotify and they come across blockchain. They're like, "Oh, Josh and Jarrett are going to talk about crypto and all this other stuff." So I want to thank you for doing that, because I think that that is another barrier to entry. When you have jargon, I mean, it's why you and I, if we go to try to talk to a high schooler, even in Australia or over here in the States, we may not know what they're talking about because they have their own jargon that's hip and it feels exclusionary. So, building on that, I want to now shift into the work that you're doing with VEMA Trader, because I see VEMA Trader as a company that's trying to build to create less friction and be more inclusive. So that way, the average person can go in and trade and feel really empowered using technology to feel empowered. Am I at all right with that?
It's on the lines of that. And really, what we're trying to do at VEMA Trader is target or give financial freedom to people that want to get into the trading market. So we facilitate, our main users are day traders. So for people that don't know what a day trader is, as the name suggests, it's a person that consistently buys and sells a specific, in our case, coin, we're in the crypto space, or stocks or forex like gold or commodities like that. And what we're doing really is making that easy for the individual to partake in day trading and make a financial freedom of themselves. So a lot of the people in today's world that buy crypto is we term, everyone terms, is the investor. So they just buy a coin or a stock in Microsoft or et cetera, and they hold on to it, and then in 10 years' time they sell it and chill in the Bahamas and relax. But what we're doing is empowering the day trader to save time, focus on the market, enter their trades for the week, and then not come back into the platform and let our platform do the automation for them based on their analysis. So we're starting in the cryptocurrency space and we're integrating with a lot of the big cryptocurrency exchanges of the world. We're currently already integrated with BitMEX and FTX, and we're looking at getting to Binance, OKX, Bybit, and the list goes on and on. So extremely exciting space to be in if you're looking at doing day trading or trying to make some money on the side. It took off during the COVID pandemic. If you look at trends, people at home can sneak up the charts on their screen at home and start trading. So interesting space to be in.
So I'm on the website, and thank you for giving that, building the foundation for what VEMA Trader is. And I want to read you something, and then I have a question. So it says, our platform improves trading performance through inbuilt risk management,
Yeah,
which I think is, we're going to come to that,
yeah,
automated conditional entries, integrated journaling, and data analysis. So I want to start first with the inbuilt risk management, because anyone listening to this and anyone who's ever bought or sold Bitcoin or has heard of Bitcoin, there's one word that always comes to mind, and it starts with a V. It's not VEMA, but it is volatility. How does VEMA Trader work with Bitcoin's ebb and flow, not just daily, but we're in a bear market and I expect
yeah.
the price to continue to go down. I have my price targets and as everyone does in the space. But how does it, the inbuilt risk management atone for Bitcoin's ridiculous volatile behavior, especially for day traders? Obviously over a long enough period of time, just hold it, don't look at the charts, go spend time with your family and loved ones and don't stress about it. But if you're trying to be for day traders, how do you guys navigate that?
Yeah, great question. So I guess before I answer that, because there's a lot of layers to that question, I'll just step it back a notch of what a day trader sort of does currently without the VEMA Trader tool and what risk management looks like in that, and then I'll bring it into VEMA. So essentially what a day trader does on a daily basis, or when they enter or about to enter the trading in the market, is they would log into their exchange. They'll go and buy, say, Bitcoin. What they do, as all traders in this space, not only just in crypto, in all the markets, they'll go and say they want to buy Bitcoin at 31,000. And that what they do to protect themselves is to put a stop loss amount in the book or in the order book of the exchange, and then a take profit amount. So you got to think about day traders only focused on winning or making, the one like the 3% to 10% wins or etc. They're just here to gain a marginal profit gain, and they use a thing called leverage trading. So to open up this another can of worms,
You
um,
can't see Josh, but he just cracked a smile when he said those two words, leverage trading. So please,
yeah,
and if you could, I want to run with that. So you want to, you put in an order buy to buy at 31, and then you want to have your stop loss. Could you actually create a hypothetical scenario to dive deeper
yeah,
in this?
sure. So essentially they'll put they want to enter the market at 31 grand. They put a stop loss amount, usually at, depending on the trader and what they're looking at, but perhaps 1%, whatever it may be, but they're looking at the chart. So they'll, let's just say 1%, and they put a take profit. So they want to exit the market at 3%. So risk management comes in because essentially that's a 3-to-1 trade. So if they win three times the amount they risk. So our tool builds all this sort of functionality in where it allows them to drag these values around their take profit and stop loss very easily and intuitively without entering numbers on the side like an exchange. So at that point, if the market was to tank, so they will only lose 1%. So let's just say, while an investor would say buy 31 grand, they click market order, they buy the Bitcoin on Coinbase right now, but they don't have an extra level of protection. What a day trader does, they say, if the price was to hit 30,000 or whatever 1% is, exit the market. I'm happy to take the loss, but I don't want to lose any more. So that's where inbuilt risk management really comes in for VEMA Trader. And we do this all inbuilt. We also calculate the position size. This is where I'm getting a bit into the jargon world of trading. However, it's quite important. We do all this inside VEMA because currently traders, day traders, what they do is they have the exchange open. They have a position calculator open up in Google Sheets of their own or a website. And then you might have noticed at the end of that statement, you said integrated journaling and data analysis. So the journaling aspect is the last piece. And they have another tool for that. So they're going on to 3-4 websites to trade. And we did some user research, and now having that all in one platform is actually now 233% faster through our platform, which is pretty powerful. But yeah, I hope that answers your question around the risk management. It's an interesting space. I could talk at length.
Well, hopefully you'll continue to talk because I find that to be fascinating. And you're right. back in 2017, I did some like super simple day trading. And what I mean by that, I'm going to clarify that statement. I tried it for like 4 or 5 days just with that, like maybe I'll lose 2%, but let's try to get 5%. Let's just see what that looks like. And I found myself at that point, if I remember, I had GDAX, which was Coinbase Pro back in the day. I had Coin Market Cap
Yeah.
open, and I forget I had something. I have Google Sheet looking at my numbers and the numbers of targets I wanted to get so I could get out that day and feel good. I was just trying to do it. I was trying to be a day trader. But like you're saying, even if you have your multiple screens, you're not being as efficient as if it were all under one roof. So you guys are trying to be the one-stop shop to allow people to basically be better day traders, or at least not better, but more efficient day traders. Is that
Yeah,
accurate?
exactly. So one is definitely efficient, but sort of democratizing day trading for people. We want to make it really, really easy. And you probably got, I think there's a stat out there around 95% of day traders fail.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah,
for sure. And that's why I wasn't interested. And I know long term,
exactly.
you just need to hold. I mean, like Warren Buffett, right, exists because he bought Coca Cola in, I don't even know, the 40s, the 30s. I don't
Some,
know how old that
yeah,
guy is anymore. And he just bought it and he just never, I think he bought it in the 50s maybe. And he just never sold, right? Warren Buffett wouldn't exist if he sold it a week later because he got 5% or whatever it was. So that to me was the thing I was going for. This isn't to say that day trading is bad, but like you said, the stat you just dropped, if it's 95% fail, and now you have this tool that makes you 200 and odd percent more, is efficient the right
yeah, yeah,
word?
yeah.
Or
You
is
could
it,
say efficient
yeah.
and saving time, really, because a lot of people do this as a full-time job. Our actual business goal, our big, hairy, audacious goal is to have 100,000 people quitting their jobs and becoming full-time professional traders. And it's a crazy goal because a lot of people that get into day trading have a full-time job and they do day trading on the side. Unless you're obviously a big hedge fund and you do it professionally. But a lot of these people, our target market is that space. And it's a goal that I'm extremely passionate about because if we can empower people to have the ability to quit their day job and dictate their own hours. And we have some customers going up to us going, I feel like I'm cheating. They feel like they're cheating. They're like, am I actually day trading? Because they only log in once like once, twice a week. And they make, however percent, 10, 5, 15, 20% a week in profit. And that's calculated risk. It's not like, hey, I looked at my wallet and scrolled and I refreshed my page and now it's at 10 grand more than I looked at the other day. This is all based on your analysis and your actual skill. So it's a lot harder to lose as well.
So if 95% of traditional day traders lose, and VEMA Trader's only been live for not 1,000 years, not 100 years, not 10 years, not, the amount of data information you guys have, does it allow you to build your counter case study to say, yeah, traditional non VEMA users fail at 95%, but if you go with us, even if you fail at 80%, that is a huge difference if you're just looking at orders of magnitude. Do you guys have any idea what that looks like?
At the moment, we just launched about 2 months ago now. So we're slowly starting to get that data. And we don't have that sort of outlook yet. And that's when you started getting into big data. But it's it's extremely powerful to give that find that analysis and give it back to the sort of a community, but also empower the traders. So as a result of us trading on our platform, we receive a lot of data points that we give back to you and empower you. So a lot of trading is actually journaling. So I entered this trade. How did I feel? What did I see in the market? Was I happy? Was I sad? And analyzing that data. It's actually fascinating. Some of the professional traders spoken to, one of them always Tuesday morning, worst day of the week. And he couldn't figure out why. And it's religiously. It wasn't because the market was bear, bull, whatever. It was because Tuesday morning, every day, every week, sorry, he was struggling. And only because he started using the journaling more and made it as because we've got it integrated, he started to realize that he kept dropping off his son at school and he hated his teacher. It was only because he was recording his thoughts and feelings that professional traders do and that they were unable to uncover that. We have another trader that puts in how much hours of sleep he has the night before. And if he's certain amount of like I think it's for him it's under 6, he won't trade. It's such a psychological profession as well and data-driven profession. And what we're looking at doing is actually empowering the individual. Do you remember Microsoft Clippy?
Oh yeah.
The
Microsoft Clippy's classic. I mean, if you're listening to this and you used a computer in the 90s or maybe the early 2000s, you probably almost broke your computer because of Clippy,
Yeah,
right? I mean,
definitely, definitely. So that little guy is kind of an inspiration for in our platform. We have a ninja as our mascot, and what we're going to really want to do is bring that ninja into the platform, sort of in a Clippy esque manner, not as irritating and you want to bash your screen, but he wants to come in and sort of say, "Well, you're really oh, it's Tuesday morning, Joe. Are you sure you want to enter this? Or you're better at longing the market, so than shorting the market." So things like that is where we start to come in and really give back power, the data we have to give back to the traders and improve their trading performance.
one of the things that I think is fascinating about trading or day trading, let's just focus on day trading, is that this is something that I think is different than long-term investing, which is really where I live. I buy things and I just hold them.
Yeah,
Is that you can make money as the market goes down
correct.
daily. And I think that that's something that's lost on me because during this time, I'm just going to continue accumulating. The idea of selling or making profit at this point is not on my radar. That happens in bull markets,
Yeah,
when I feel that euphoria. Like when you feel that feeling, which I know you felt in 2018 and January as I did too, as XRP holders, I should have sold, right? I still think about that even today. I'm like, oh yeah, when you feel like, yeah, when you feel invincible, that's when you should sell. So I guess I wanted to make that statement, but is there anything else that VEMA builds on from that, as
yeah,
far as maybe getting some investors to put even 5% of their portfolio into a day trade portfolio?
yeah. I guess it's you're spot on there. That's the really sort of great part about day trading is that you can actually make money shorting the market or betting it going down. So what we call investment trading is called or holding a stock and waiting for it or crypto and waiting for it to go up is called spot trading. So you're actually buying the asset, you own a particular amount of the coin or etc., and you just wait. You can only make money for it going up. While VEMA Trader is going to get into that market shortly, but at the moment we're only focusing on derivatives. So what is a derivatives? It's a selling. You're basically selling a contract of that asset. So you'll be selling BTC USD. You're buying the contract that follows the same price of Bitcoin or gold or a stock. And what that does is it gives the traders this opportunity for high liquidity because who trades these or the derivative market? The big hedge funds, the big funds that have a lot of money, banks and etc. And that's where the highest trading volume is happening, not the spot market, because the spot market's you and I buying 1 grand of Bitcoin. As a result of that, yes, you can short the market. So the period we're in now, traders are loving life in aspects because they can see it coming. They can see, hey, we're shorting. It's time. The bias has changed. So traders are looking for things going down. And if you want to learn more at a very theatrical way about shorting, I recommend watching The Big Short and the GFC and all what happened there. That's a very theatrical way of describing it and what it is. But shorting's extremely powerful. And that's where our day traders kind of make a lot of money. No matter what the market condition, they can make money. And our platform also offers paper trading, which is really, really powerful. So what paper trading means is essentially you're trading fake money. You're entering the market as if you had real money, and you can go and enter trades, learn, analyze your trading using fake money in preparation for a bull market if you think you're better at trading in the bull market. So essentially, shorting is the way of life for a day trader. So is longing for an investment.
Yeah, very cool. These are things that, technically I understand, but practically I've really never done. I've just stayed away, especially because the place I feel most comfortable is not stocks, it would be cryptocurrency. And if there's one thing I learned about cryptocurrency is that I just never know.
Yeah,
When you have one guy who can tweet and it can change things, when you have one country that can ban mining and it changes things, this is the most macro thing I think I've ever kind of been around. And I tell anybody, I think Bitcoin is the most sensitive thing on the planet because one little thing and it will tank. one little thing and it could double. So I wanted to also just say, make sure it was out here that VEMA is an acronym for visualize, execute, monitor, and analyze. And one of the questions I have about the visualize, execute, monitor, and analyze is it part of the platform to help people navigate taxes? Because for me, that's a huge thing. And that's why, as a long term trader, I don't want to play short term capital gains because it's like a kick in the shin. So, with this visualize, execute, monitor, and analyze, does it help you navigate taxes? And to build upon that, does it help you navigate taxes in the States,
Great.
federal taxes?
Yeah, great question. Great question. So yeah, so visualize, execute, monitor, analyze. That's what VEMA stands for. Essentially, it's the way about you enter the trade, learn, monitor your trades, and continuously loop through that process. And throughout that whole process, we gain, like I mentioned prior, data on your trading process, your thoughts, your journaling, and etc. As a result of that, we also gain information on, or your information, I should say, on what time, when you entered, when you exited, when what your risk management was, how much contracts you bought, etc., etc., etc. So as a result, now having that, we can then do tax reporting quite easily because we have a log of every single transaction that was placed by a certain individual. Obviously, this is all secure or encrypted. Like we don't have, it's all IDs, etc. But what that means is that yes, exactly, tax time. It hasn't been built into the platform, and it's going to probably be coming in about 6 months time or 6 to 12 months time. But tax reporting for the Australia to the States and other countries of the world, one click statement, and for a day trader, that is gold because, like you said, they have to have a single log, and some traders can do hundreds of trades a month and trying to figure out that calculation once again in an old tool like Excel or Google Sheets. That's what they had to use in the past, right? Was really taxing. It takes a lot of time. And if you went to an accountant with that, they might kick you out of the door because I definitely would if I was an accountant. So we just streamlined that whole process, and the aim is to do that very shortly.
So you guys are out of Australia,
Yes.
and you're eventually going to be able to hopefully deal with the IRS because that would be super sweet. I know that people in stateside would see just a lot more value because, like you said, if you can't deal with the taxes, it's just not going to play. What are there when you guys look at the demographics? Is it just people from Australia right now that are joining the platform? Or is there a boom in another country that's also English speaking or wherever? I'm assuming maybe the platform's in a couple different languages, but if it's not Australia, where's the second biggest population of people on the platform?
Yeah, great question. So we just launched 2 months ago in Australia and New Zealand only. Yeah. Just to sort of understand the market, gain see what the where we stood in the market, how do we who's buying in, what's our demographic, and etc. So those two spaces obviously have kicked off, but we started opening up our doors to other states because we have to do, of course, tax on our own side as a company. So we're starting opening up in a few countries. So Canada is the next one, but the biggest growth we've had is definitely Canada and some of Europe. A lot of day traders live the life of a remote working, so they can work from anywhere really, as probably more easier than software companies because they need collaboration. While day traders, you know, it's just them and the computer and the charts. So we've seen growth in Canada. We're about to open up into the States once we integrate the next exchange we're doing, which is OKX, which is it's popular in the States and allows derivative trading. And then we're going to open up across Europe. So yeah, definitely Canada and a lot of Europe starting to pick up.
Every time I think about a business, a new idea, the thing that comes to my mind is who is the competition? And who is Vima's competition? Is it basically the old school way of sitting on Binance or Coinbase and having the Google Sheet open, the Coin Market Cap, the trading views, whatever you have open?
Yeah,
What's who's your competition?
I guess we don't have a direct competition. No one's sort of thought, okay, let's put the journaling, the charting, the execution all in one platform. There is amazing journaling tools, but journaling tools on their own where you have to grab the data from the exchange and pull it in. Or there's great charting tools. You mentioned TradingView. Amazing. We integrate with TradingView ourselves, right? Which is powerful. No one sort of combined them all together. But however, there is some out there that are really looking at similar things, or we're doing similar things, and it's not biggest competitor, or like they're not well known, but people like Three Commas, Crypto Hopper, Coin Panel. There's a few names out there that are sort of taking on this space, but they're taking the very bot or copy trading approach. And if you speak to a professional day trader, some of them really like that because they can make side money because people are copying their trading. But if you speak to an avid professional trader, they don't really enjoy that because they're doing the hard effort and the time investing, and copy trading is just, hey, I'm just going to tag on this and make some money off it. And so we're giving power back to the day trader here. And I think that's where we differentiate ourselves from a lot of our competitors, is that combining it all in one tool and giving it back to them in one package is where we stand out.
I don't really have a lot of friends. I actually can't think of one person that I know who's a professional day trader, but I feel like I could probably tell you someone who's like a professional NFT trader, even if I know he has a full time job, but he makes probably more money trading NFTs. He just
Yeah.
has the job because he finds it interesting. What's in, and this is just my pure curiosity, so I hope it plays well on the podcast here, but what's one big misconception of the day trade?
I guess the big misconception of the day trader is the barriers to entry, and they think as soon as you probably even around this space, but I say day trading to you or day trading to somebody down the road, they immediately think suit, blazer, a bit of a, I don't know if I could swear on this, but you know what I'm trying to say.
You can if you'd
Yeah.
like.
And works at a massive hedge fund and, big bank, and they just yell and scream at monitors. Right. But really, I think that's a massive misconception, especially in today's world. Anyone can day trade, one, and it's really simple to set up, especially with VEMA. But how to read the market is actually quite fascinating and quite simple. Simple, I say that, but it takes a lot of practice. I don't know if you know much about day trading. It's all based off a thing called technical analysis. And
Yeah,
it's looking
I mean
at,
TA
yeah, TA,
is
yeah.
the entire internet, I feel like sometimes.
Yeah, sometimes. Um, and read up about it for everyone that's listening, and essentially reading patterns in the market. And there's a whole bunch of education platforms that teach TA. We're partners with a platform called MBA, a big Australian company that does this trading education for cryptocurrency. And what it is basically, because everyone gets taught the exact same thing in the market and how to read the charts, sort of like fibs, Fibonacci sequence, support and resistance, parallel channel. There's so much jargon, I don't want to bore you guys, but really read up about it and then pull up a chart, and you could see that the market follows these patterns. And it's a self-fulfilling prophecy, essentially. Because everyone gets taught the same thing, the market follows those patterns. That's what really fascinated me about day trading, is that how can no one be told about this? And everyone thinks it's such a, oh, it's too difficult, it's too hard, when it's all about looking at the market and seeing these patterns. And what are the common patterns that everyone's seeing? So if more people are seeing this pattern, it's more likely to play out. And I could literally show that to, if I popped up the screen and go in trading view right now, I could probably find something there. That's really the big misconception, is that it's so hard to get into, but in reality, play around with some paper, fake money, open up an account with VEMA Trader or an exchange or whatever it may be, learn a bit about technical analysis, and you can start seeing the patterns, and it opens up a whole world of financial freedom, which is insane.
That's super cool, and I'm thank you for I think you did a really good job answering that because I wasn't really sure where you were gonna go, but you hit on the things like in my mind that I need you to break down. Because when I think of a day trader, and I lived in New York long enough that like the FIDI or the financial district is essentially just Web two bros, right?
Yeah,
Now we have
exactly.
crypto bros, but they were just Web two bros, and they wore way too much leather and way too much silk at any one time.
Exactly.
They were in the gym right after work, just talking about their trades. A lot of ego, a lot of male, you know, toxicity or whatever you want to say. So thank you for breaking that down, because I do picture now like a Web3 trader, somebody in Australia who's just sitting at a cafe. They got their VEMA Trader open. They got sandals, flip-flops on. They're going to go meet up with friends later, and they're just taking 5 to 10 minutes to make sure their trades are in order, and then they're going to move on. And I think that is cool, even to have that idea in mind, and that's where kind of maybe people are now, especially with crypto, as we move towards, like, I guess we'll call Web3 trading could be crypto. I think it shifts the paradigm a lot from what you watch Wall Street in the 80s, and you had to be there and you had to get on the floor, and there were so many barriers to entry. And now we have Cash App. You have your own, you have Bitcoin Lightning Network right there in your hand, or you have VEMA Trader where you can get on and you can have all these things in-house instead of having 17 screens or, a bunch of different tabs. If I could, I'd love to ask you where people can find you if they want to reach out and say, Josh, heard you on the podcast. I want to ask you more questions. Do you want to shout out your Twitter, your LinkedIn, your Instagram? Basically, go ahead and shout out wherever you feel like it's appropriate to receive, or you could shout out your email. I don't really know what you want to shout out.
To get in touch with myself, feel free to message me on LinkedIn, Joshua Somma on LinkedIn. In terms of VEMA Trader, you can always get in touch with us on our Facebook, VEMA Trader, or Instagram at vematrader.com. And we definitely have our Twitter. And of course, who else in this world, join our Discord, have a chat in there. We're more than welcome to have a chat. And all those socials for VEMA Trader can be found on our website. And for myself, LinkedIn, or you can email me at jsoma121@gmail.com.
Sweet. I will put your LinkedIn and the email in the show notes. So if you're hearing this, go ahead and find them there. And Josh, thank you for hopping on the podcast.
Thanks so much for having me. It's been a great time. Thank you.
Thanks for listening to this episode, and be sure to find Josh on LinkedIn at Joshua Somma. That's Joshua SOMMA, and check out VEMA Trader at VEMAtrader.com. Please follow us on social media at More Than Blockchain, and check out our website for more information on the podcast at morethanblockchain.xyz. Be sure to subscribe to us on whatever podcast platform you're listening in on, and if you enjoyed the episode or know a day trader who might be interested to learn more about VEMA Trader, please drop them the episode link via text, email, or even a DM. Thanks again, and I'll see you next time.